Hi, in this video I'm going to show you how to create poses and how to fix poses that get broken in Maya from when you say you import a, it can happen from time to time when you import a developer's kit. I've been a customer, a good customer and friend was having a problem with the A pose in the appearance and poses section not working after he had imported a developer kit. And so we worked over that, and he made a suggestion of how can I get my own custom poses. And so this is good for people who are rigging, who want to have different A poses, different, just different poses, because there's different types of A poses. There are A poses with your arms at different degrees, or 45 degrees, or 30 degrees, or some people like their legs together, and some people like the avatar's legs to be slightly farther apart, because it makes it easier to smooth bind when the legs aren't so close together. So there's all sorts of reasons why you might want to have your own poses. Or if you're animating, I didn't even think about this, but if you're animating and you want your avatar to go to a particular pose, this is a way how you can do that. And I'm also going to show how to create buttons on your shelf so that you can have these poses anytime you want. At least I'm pretty sure. In theory, it should be there all the time, as long as it's a Second Life skeleton. Okay, so I'm gonna do this. Let's see. This will work for either Bento or the original skeleton. We'll do the Bento, since that's the most popular probably one right now. Okay, so here's the avatar, and now these poses are not custom bind poses. These are just poses. They're not bind poses. You have your A pose, and then you have your T pose, which is the regular T pose. Now this A pose actually is not a very good A pose for rigging too, because the elbows are bent and the knees are bent. And actually, this is not. Here, I'll show you. Let's say you imported a developer's kit. Let's deal with the error that some people have come upon when they've imported a developer's kit, and they can no longer get to the A pose. The T pose usually works, but the A pose doesn't. And then you've got the idle pose. So anyway, so if you find that the A pose especially isn't working, and you really want the A pose, and I'm also going to show you how to replace this A pose so that if you really want a different A pose, I'll show you how to do that. Although it's easier probably just to create a new button up here so that you always just have a button. Okay. So how do we fix this? If the A pose doesn't work anymore, we click on it and it doesn't work anymore. It's pretty simple. All you have to do is come up here to Window, and come down here to Animation, and Tracks Editor. And then in the Tracks Editor, all you have to do, click on Library, Insert Pose, and you want to click on this one, Avatar Appearance Editor Pose Source. Here's the avatar default pose, and here's the idle stance or pose. Now, why is this one named Avatar Appearance Editor Pose Source? That's because that's what the avatar's stance is when you do the appearance editors in Second Life. When you click on Edit Appearance or Edit Shape, and the avatar kind of spins around and does that sort of. Yeah, that's the pose. This is the actual pose from that. That's why it has this name. It's not named A pose. So anyway, so if it's not working, all you have to do is, like I said, come in here to Library, Insert Pose, and then simply click on Avatar Appearance Editor Pose Source. And that's it. The avatar will probably go like into that stance, and then you'll be able to work that again. Now let's say, okay, next I'll show you how to make a button. Okay, let's put it back in the T pose, because this A pose really isn't great for rigging too, because the elbows are bent and the knees are bent. It's not a great A pose. So say we want to make an A pose. Well, you go back to the T pose, and you select the M shoulder, and there's the M shoulder. You can either do this in the channel box or the attribute editor. Okay, we go to rotate, and you start rotating the arm down. And you can see this is going to be a negative. So let's put this at negative 45. Now, your A pose doesn't have to have it at 45. You may like 50 or 60, or you might like 20, you know, or you might be trying to match up an A pose by some other designer, like say from a kit, you know, a developer's kit. You want to have that pose, and so that you can go to it anytime. So okay, so there is the 45 degrees on that side. I'll select this side. Whoops, we don't want that. There we go. We just want the M shoulder right, and then you just rotate it a little bit, and you can see it's going to be in the positive. So we're going to put positive 45. Now Blender, I know, I think this would be negative 45, and this would be negative 45, or it's positive 45 and positive 45. Blender does rotations slightly different. I guess because one is on one side of the center point and one's on the other side of the center point, and that's how I can tell. But in Maya, this is positive 45, this is negative 45. Okay, so we have our pose. Well, let's say we even want the legs to be, you know, out a little bit. Okay, looks like, let's do, should we do 5 or should we do 10? Oh, we'll do 10 degrees. Okay. Oh, wait a minute. I did not want the back leg selected. There we go. Okay, so let's rotate this out 10 degrees on X, and then we do the same thing here. And this is going to be negative 10 degrees because it's the other side. And now that's an A pose. Now that actually might be too much. Negative 5. Make sure I grab that back leg again. And 5. Okay, so say we want that to be our A pose. Or we want to have a button that's the A pose. Okay, so what you want to do is in the same tracks editor, click Create. Come down here to Pose, but click on the Options, because that's where you put the name in. So we're going to name this A underscore pose. You know, and this could be even A underscore pose 1, because you might have different A poses depending on, sometimes you might want legs together, sometimes you might want them apart or farther apart, or arms at different angles. So you get the picture. And then you see to click Apply or Create. We'll click Apply. And we got a slight error. And this is good. It says select exactly one character. See, there's no character set. So you just click there, and I would click on Animated Avatar. And then click Apply. Ta-da! Result, A pose 1. So now we have A pose 1. And you can see it in your outliner, A pose 1. Okay, now to make a button, it's really pretty simple. Okay, I'm going to clear this out. I'm just holding down the right mouse button and coming down here to clear out. It's pretty simple. The fastest way of knowing how to what the command is for that is you come up here to Windows again, General Editors, and the Visor. Oops. Visor. And then you come over here, gotta right mouse click on this thing until you see character poses. Okay, now here are all our character poses. You have the appearance editor poser clip, the default T pose. There's the idle stance. So see, it says idle stance. These are all, I guess in the animation, these are all in different animation clips, but that's okay. And then here's the A pose 1. Now just clicking on it, you can select it, but even if we click on these others, like let's go to the default, it doesn't actually go to the pose, right? So to make something go to the pose, you just right mouse click on it, hold down the mouse button, and let go apply pose. So that's the default pose. Okay. So how we get the command from creating our button, I'm going to clear this out again, is I'm going to click on the pose. I don't even think you have to have it closed. I think you just right mouse click. No? Yeah, you can just right mouse click on it and click apply pose. And now you can see here is this line where it says pose, apply, name, that means a pose 1, animated avatar, because that's the character that we put it under. When we got that error. So now we just highlight that, and you highlight it, and you copy, and then you come down here. See, I already did a test one, and you delete it, and it's a mail script, so you put it in the mail script, and then you highlight, then you paste it, and then you highlight it, and then you come up here to File, Save Script to Shelf, and I'll name this A Pose 1, and I'll click OK. And you'll notice we got a new button up here. Okay, these names, you got to keep them kind of short, but you can see that's A Po, that's the whole name. So let's go and apply this pose again. And now anytime you want this pose, you just click A Pose 1. Okay, and now we have our pose. So you can create as many custom poses as you want. You put them on a shelf. Now the shelf, it's whatever the shelf is activated. If this one had been activated when I created the button, it would be here. So if you want to put it on under custom, you can put it under custom. You can create a new shelf, a brand new shelf, and just name it poses. You could do that. I believe you just come under here and you click new shelf and give it a name, poses. So you can put the poses there. Now mind you, this A Pose 1 will only work. It's not going to work. Okay. It's whatever file you save this as. So if I were to go File, Save, this pose would now be with that file. It stays with the file. And since you import a brand new file every time when you activate the avatar, this pose is not in that avatar. It's not in that file. So now, let's see. What you could do is you could go File, Save Scene As. I'm going to show you how to save over that scene, that file, so it does stay there. Okay, so you go to your documents. It's in the same place that you installed MayaStar. Maya 2014 scripts. Don't pay attention to all these other script folders. These are all during testing when I was updating MayaStar and all that kind of stuff. So, but scripts. Okay, and now you're going to want the Maya binary files, and you can see I got a bunch of them in here. These are all for testing. And you're going to want to find the, let's see, MayaStar, pretty sure it's this one, MayaStarFemaleBENTO. Okay, so you just, for this one, because it's the MayaStarFemaleBENTO, you just double click on it and it says you want to rewrite over it. Yes. And you click yes. So that's the one that you want to write over. If you write over it, now that pose will be in the, when you activate, it'll be in here and your button will continue to work. If you don't write over it and you just save the file as a different name, that button will only work for that file. So it's up to you. Now you can also, if you want to say write over the pose, the A pose, that's the Avatar Appearance Editor source pose. If you want to write over this pose, so that when you click on A pose, it just goes to your pose, you can do that. You would have to just come in here and select, and then let's see. Okay, you can't delete it from in here. I wonder if I can just hit the delete key. Yep. you just hit the delete key. Now I've deleted it, and then I could come in here to create pose, create. You've got to click on the options box because we've got to name it the same name it was before, which I had copied and pasted onto a notepad. Okay, so you rename it this name and then you click apply, and now it has that pose. Okay, so we'll close that out, and now this is the pose. So if we go to T-pose and we click on A pose, now we have that pose. So we've redone that pose. Again, you would have to, if you want to make that permanent, you go File, Save As. You're going to go to your Maya, where your Maya is at, and I am pretty sure it is Bento. Where is it? I saw it before. MayaStarFemaleBENTO. Pretty sure, but let me double check. I'm going to double check this. I'm going to start a new scene. Okay. History. MayaStar. Activate. Bento. Okay, now let me pause it here real quick while I examine it. Okay, I was hoping that this would show me the name of the file that it actually imports from, but it doesn't. This gives me the name of the script that is, and it's in the script that says what file to import. So it doesn't actually tell me to import. So what I'm going to do is I am going to, in the description, I'll put in, there will be 4 different files. One for female original, one for male original, one for female bento, one for male bento. There's 4 Maya binary files. Those are the files that are imported into the scene when you activate the avatar. You know, there's 4 files to choose from. So I'll put that in the description, and I'll put like the name of the file, and then I'll put like equals this, or maybe I'll put the female original equals, and then the file that is imported. So that you'll know which goes to which, so that if you're trying to replace the A pose for this particular configuration of the female bento, you'll know which one to do. And it was that one that I said, that I pointed at in the outline and said, I think it's this one, and it was that one. For this particular avatar, set up female bento. You can't, I don't know why, if you try to import those files, go to a new scene, and then just go import, and then you go to Documents and Settings, Maya, this is 2014, Scripts, and try to import a Maya binary, Oh, I have a nasty word. I was upset one day. Okay, I'm going to have to blur that out. Great. It won't import correctly. It will redo the names. I don't know why it does it. It has to be imported with the script. Otherwise the bones get renamed. So I'm gonna have, I look like I just noticed I'm gonna have to do some blurring. There was a nasty word in there. Or maybe I'll leave it in there, and you can look back to see. But yes, I do get upset and frustrated, just like everybody does when working in a program. Yes, Maya can be extremely frustrating at times. So, okay, so I've showed you how to create your own button. Now watch, because this doesn't have it. When I click this, get an error. There's no such character, because here are the poses. See, it's I didn't save it as. I didn't save over that file, so that's why you only have 3 instead of 4 different poses. So how to fix the pose if it gets messed up. By simply coming in here, the tracks editor, library, insert pose, and clicking one of them. Clicking the one that doesn't work, and then it should work when you click on the A pose and the T pose. It should work from then on out. So if you're importing a developer kit and it gets messed up, you know how to create a pose. You know how to create a pose through the text editor again by going create pose. Make sure you do the options, because that's where you input the name. It doesn't ask you to input a name. You have to input the name in the options box first. If you don't, it will just save over the last one. It'll keep using the same name. Although it might get a bit like, if it was like the name was just like my pose and you clicked apply, it might give my pose apply 1, my pose apply 2 each time you click or create a pose. I think, I'm not sure. But so if you want a particular name, you've got to input it into the options first before you click apply or create pose. So now you know how to create a pose. You know how to access the pose. Even if you didn't make a button, you could always access the pose from the visor. You know, window, general editor, visor. You can always access the pose from here by just hovering over it, right mouse clicking on it, and clicking apply pose. I shouldn't say clicking apply pose. You're releasing. You're holding down the right mouse button, moving the mouse, and then releasing the mouse button to actually select it. So you could just always do there. A button up here might be a lot more convenient. So you might want, like I said, create your own shelf. I showed you how to create a shelf. Super simple. Come over here. Create new shelf. Give it a name. Poses. And now I have a pose shelf. You know, and I believe I still have my animated one. And then you would just A pose 1. And now there's my A pose 1. Of course, I don't have an A pose 1 there. I could create one. I could go here to, that's avatar, default. It's out of the way. It's 45. 45, come in here. A pose 1. It's probably going to give me an error because there's no character set. Oh, it didn't do it that time. It didn't give us an error that time. So that's good. Sometimes it'll give you that error, sometimes it won't. So now that we have that, we should be able to, or here, it's A pose 1. Our button should work. Yep. Because we created it the same name that it's asking for. So we go T pose. Oh, we show you. We know it's the A pose. So like I said, this is really handy for if you're creating animations and you want to get back to the T pose or a particular pose that you want to start from. You can always create a pose that way. So, oh, this is actually not too bad. It's only a 23-25 minute video. So, okay, so now you know how to correct a pose. No problem with it importing a developer's kit. You know how to fix a pose. So if it was any pose that wasn't working, if your button stopped working and you know you saved it into the saved over the correct file so that it's in your visor, and this button is still not, or it's still not working when you're clicking here or when you're clicking here, you know how to correct it. Library, insert pose, and then you just click whichever one is not working, you know. And I think I might have dismissed that one up, because sometimes when it actually is working and you do that, you've inserted a pose on top of the pose. Nope, it didn't break it. I thought it might have broken it. Anyway, so you know how to fix a pose that's broken. You know how to create a pose. You know how to make a button. You know how to, if you want this to be a different pose all the time. So say you have a little standard A pose you use all the time, and you use this thing more than want to do, you know how to replace it in here. You know what the name is. You know it is, let's see where it is that. Anyway, you know what the name is. Let's see, do I have it here? Yes, I do. Let me just put it in there again. You know the name of that pose is here. You can find it here too. Let's see, that's avatar appearance. See how it highlights up here where it says avatar appearance editor pose, and it says anim clip. You don't want the brackets anim clip. It says avatar appearance editor pose source. You can delete it from the visor. You could search for it in the outliner and delete it there if you really want to delete it in the outliner. Same name. Here it's much easier to find. There's only a few poses, 3 by default, you know, and we created a 4th. So you know how to do all that. So hopefully this will help out quite a few people. And yeah, great. And we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.